Burt Reynolds was more than just a Hollywood icon. He was the definition of charm, wit, and rugged charisma. With his unforgettable grin and mustache, Burt owned the spotlight in classics like Smokey and the Bandit and Deliverance. But behind the scenes, he had a story to tell. One that involved the king of late-night TV, Johnny Carson. Their chemistry on The Tonight Show was electric, full of humor and surprises. But it's what Reynolds revealed about Carson years later that truly left fans speechless. Before his death, Burt Reynolds opened up about Johnny Carson in a way no one expected. Join us as we uncover the shocking truth behind this story. But let's start from the beginning to understand the context. Humble beginnings and family roots. Burt Reynolds was born on February 11, 1936, as Burton Leon Reynolds, Jr. His parents, Burton Milo Reynolds Sr. and Harriet Furnett, gave him a rich lineage with Dutch, English, Scots-Irish, and Scottish ancestry. Reynolds also proudly claimed some Cherokee and Italian heritage, though these were never fully confirmed. While many thought he was born in Waycross, Georgia, Reynolds cleared up the confusion in 2015, revealing he was actually born in Lansing, Michigan. His family had lived there when his father was drafted into the U.S. Army. Reynolds' early years were marked by constant relocations, following his father's military assignments. From Missouri's Fort Leonard Wood to Michigan's Lake City, the family finally settled in Riviera Beach, Florida, in 1946. It was here that Burt earned the nickname Buddy. The town shaped much of his early personality, and he developed a lifelong friendship with future baseball star Dick Howser. Interestingly, his father became the chief of police in Riviera Beach, which added a layer of discipline to Burt's rebellious charm. Despite his charming demeanor, Reynolds carried a competitive spirit, particularly in football. At Palm Beach High School, he stood out as a fullback and earned accolades like First-Team All-State and All-Southern. His talent didn't go unnoticed, and he received multiple college football scholarship offers. Little did anyone know, his life was about to take a dramatic turn. The rise and fall of a football star. Reynolds began his college career on a football scholarship at Florida State University in 1954, where he played halfback. Among his roommates was Lee Corso, who would later become a prominent football analyst. During his freshman year, Reynolds shone on the field, but his journey was cut short by a series of devastating injuries. A knee injury during his sophomore year sidelined him, and soon after, a severe car accident left him with another damaged knee and a removed spleen. These setbacks not only impacted his athletic career, but also forced him to step away from football temporarily. In early 1956, Reynolds enrolled at Palm Beach Junior College to continue his education. This decision marked a pivotal moment in his life. While at college, an English professor named Watson B. Duncan III saw potential in Burt's voice and charisma. He encouraged him to audition for a play called Outward Bound. To everyone's surprise, Burt excelled and won the Florida State Drama Award that year. Reflecting on this life-changing experience, Reynolds once said, "I read 2 words, and they gave me the lead." From that point on, acting became a serious consideration. Duncan remained a mentor and guiding figure, influencing Burt's future in ways he could never have imagined. The transition from football to acting wasn't easy, but Reynolds soon found himself exploring new opportunities in theater. Burt's early acting days. Winning the Florida State Drama Award came with a scholarship to the Hyde Park Playhouse in New York, a summer theater program. Reynolds initially saw this as a break from physically demanding jobs, but didn't consider acting a long-term career. That changed when he met Joanne Woodward, a rising star, who helped him find an agent. Woodward later recalled, "He had this lovely, shy personality that made you want to help him." Reynolds began honing his craft, starting with plays like Tea and Sympathy and Look, We've Come Through. His performances received positive reviews, leading to a nationwide tour with the cast. During this time, Reynolds also took formal acting classes with Win Hanman at the neighborhood playhouse. These lessons helped him develop his natural talent into professional skill, focusing on listening, improvisation, and authentic expression. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. After an unsuccessful screen test for Sayonara, Reynolds was told he resembled Marlon Brando too much to land the role. The comparison to Brando became a recurring theme in his career, sometimes helping him but often holding him back. Despite this, Reynolds pressed on, taking odd jobs like waiting tables, washing dishes, and even jumping through a glass window for $150 on live TV. These struggles only fueled his determination to succeed, Hollywood stardom, and a theater of his own. By the 1970s, Burt Reynolds had cemented his place in Hollywood. Movies like Deliverance, White Lightning, and Smokey and the Bandit catapulted him to stardom. With his rugged good looks and magnetic charm, he became a box office favorite, dominating from 1978 to 1982 as Hollywood's top-grossing actor. Few stars could match his appeal, putting him alongside legends like Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise. Critics, however, didn't always appreciate his films. While hits like Sharky's Machine and Smokey and the Bandit earned high scores, others like Stroker Ace were panned. Yet Reynolds had a unique ability to connect with audiences, making his movies beloved despite mixed reviews. Outside of Hollywood, Reynolds pursued his passion for theater in a unique way. In 1978, he opened the Burt Reynolds Dinner Theater in Jupiter, Florida. He envisioned it as a space for people who couldn't afford Broadway, but still wanted to experience live performances. Reynolds explained, "I want a theater for people who haven't seen live theater, at prices they can pay." Over the years, he attracted big names like Carol Burnett, Farrah Fawcett, and Martin Sheen to perform and teach at the venue. Speaking of which, did you know that Reynolds also directed 7 plays at the theater, though he only acted in 3? Despite its success, financial struggles forced him to close the theater in 1989. His plans to donate the building to a local college for performing arts were blocked by state laws due to unpaid debts. Even so, the theater's legacy lived on as a testament to Burt Reynolds' commitment to the arts and his generosity toward fellow performers. Speaking of which, Burt Reynolds' personal life was as dramatic and captivating as his Hollywood career. Love and heartbreak, Burt's complex relationships. He was married twice and had several high-profile relationships that kept the tabloids buzzing. His first marriage was to Judy Carn, an English comedian known for her role on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. The marriage, which lasted from 1963 to 1965, didn't leave much of an impact on Reynolds' life, but his later relationships certainly did. One of the most talked-about romances in Burt's life was with Sally Field. They met in the 1970s and dated for 5 years, during which they starred together in hit movies like Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper. Reynolds often described Sally as the love of his life, even admitting in later interviews, "I screwed the relationship up." He expressed deep regret over losing her, revealing, "That sense of loss never goes away." Despite their split, Sally Field remained a constant figure in Burt's memories, and he never stopped hoping for a connection. Burt's second marriage was to actress Lonnie Anderson in the late 1980s. Together, they adopted a son, Quentin, but their relationship was anything but smooth. Their messy divorce played out in the public eye, with Burt accusing Lonnie of extravagance and infidelity. He later admitted that his attraction to a cocktail waitress contributed to their split. The lawsuits and drama that followed their divorce added another layer of complexity to his already colorful personal life. But Burt Reynolds wasn't just known for his charm and good looks. He also had a fiery side, feuds, water fights, and a taste for trouble. One of his most infamous moments occurred during an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno in 1994. Burt was already in a bad mood because of a joke Jay made about his divorce the night before. Things got even more awkward when the second guest, Mark Summers, joined the show. Summers, the host of Double Dare, unintentionally sparked Burt's temper by mentioning his neatness-fanatic habits. Burt didn't hold back, sarcastically commenting on Summers' stories and even cutting off Leno's tie with scissors. The tension escalated into a bizarre water fight when Burt threw his mug of water at Summers, who retaliated by spilling water back on Burt. The heated exchange ended with a pie fight, a moment so outrageous it became one of the most talked-about late-night TV episodes of the time. While moments like these showed Burt's unpredictable side, they also revealed his quick wit and ability to turn any situation into entertainment, even if it was at someone else's expense. Burt Reynolds' career skyrocketed in the 1970s, thanks to iconic films like Deliverance and Smokey and the Bandit. But it wasn't just his acting that made headlines. His daring nude centerfold in Cosmopolitan magazine in 1972 created waves, a bare-all publicity stunt and its fallout. The photo, featuring Burt lounging on a bearskin rug with a cheeky smile, was the brainchild of legendary editor Helen Gurley Brown. It hit newsstands just as Deliverance was releasing, and the timing couldn't have been better, or worse. The issue sold out instantly, making Burt an even bigger star, but he later regretted the stunt. "I thought it would be a kick," he said, but over time he felt it hurt the serious reception of Deliverance. Burt believed the photo overshadowed the movie's success and even cost his co-stars Jon Voight and Ned Beatty Oscar nominations. Looking back, he admitted the centerfold might have been a mistake, but it also solidified his reputation as a risk-taker who wasn't afraid to push boundaries. Speaking of which, as one of Hollywood's biggest stars in the 1970s and 1980s, Burt Reynolds had the chance to play some of the most iconic roles in film history. However, his reluctance, or occasional overconfidence, led him to pass on roles that could have reshaped his career. The roles that got away. One of the most famous roles he turned down was Michael Corleone in The Godfather. Burt declined because Marlon Brando, who played Don Corleone, threatened to quit if Burt was cast. Reflecting on the incident, Burt said, "I was flattered that he was upset. Still, it's hard not to wonder what might have been if he had taken the part." Another big opportunity slipped through his fingers when he rejected the chance to play James Bond. Burt believed only a British actor should take on the role, a decision he later regretted. He also turned down Richard Gere's role in Pretty Woman, admitting, "Because I'm an ID." Other missed opportunities included Han Solo in Star Wars and the lead roles in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest in terms of endearment. Both roles eventually went to Jack Nicholson, who won Oscars for each performance. Despite these missed chances, Burt's humor about his decisions remained intact. When asked why he passed on so many legendary roles, he shrugged it off with his signature wit, showing that even Hollywood's brightest stars don't always make the perfect choice. But while Burt Reynolds might have been a Hollywood legend, his life off-screen was far from glamorous. The struggles behind the spotlight. Reynolds openly shared his battle with health issues during his appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He suffered from hypoglycemia, a condition that caused low blood sugar and often left him feeling weak. He also dealt with anxiety, a struggle he wasn't afraid to discuss publicly. As an actor who often performed his own stunts, Burt pushed his body to the limit, sometimes with serious consequences. While filming Deliverance, he insisted on doing the dangerous waterfall scene himself. As a result, he injured his coccyx, a painful condition that remained for years. On the set of The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing, a fight scene caused a hernia, requiring surgery. And in 1984, while shooting City Heat, Burt was hit in the face with a metal chair, leaving him with a painful jaw condition called TMJ. The injury forced him onto a liquid diet, leading to dramatic weight loss and an addiction to painkillers that took years to overcome. Despite these challenges, Reynolds never let them define him. His dedication to his craft was evident in every role he played, but the toll on his health was undeniable. The golden years and lavish spending. Burt Reynolds was at the top of Hollywood for years, commanding $10 million annually during his prime. But for Burt, money seemed to come and go just as fast as the blockbuster hits. He spent extravagantly on things that showcased his larger-than-life personality. A Florida estate he called Valhalla, a 153-acre ranch, and multiple mansions in Malibu and Beverly Hills. Burt's taste for luxury didn't stop there. He owned a private jet, a helicopter, and 150 horses. He even dropped $100,000 on toupees and invested in a comfort food restaurant chain called Po Folks, which ultimately failed. Add to that a collection of flashy sports cars that could rival his iconic Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am, and it was clear Burt wasn't saving for a rainy day. But things took a turn for the worse in 1993, when his divorce from Lonnie Anderson hit his finances hard. He owed nearly $250,000 a month in alimony and legal fees, which quickly drained his wealth. To make matters worse, his movie career was losing steam, and endorsements with companies like Quaker State and the Florida Citrus Commission dried up. By the time his TV show Evening Shade was canceled in 1994, Burt was struggling to keep up with his financial obligations. Looking back on his spending habits, Burt told Vanity Fair in 2015, "I've lost more money than is possible because I just haven't watched it." His honesty about his financial mistakes painted a picture of a man who lived boldly but paid the price for it. The dark side of addiction. In the 1980s, Burt's career took a darker turn, not just in Hollywood but in his personal life as well. While filming City Heat in 1984, a metal chair hit him in the face, causing a severe jaw injury that led to temporomandibular joint dysfunction, TMJ. The pain was so excruciating that Burt turned to the popular sedative Halcyon for relief. What started as a way to manage pain spiraled into addiction. Burt admitted to taking as many as 50 pills a day at the height of his dependency. His attempt to quit cold turkey almost killed him. Burt later recalled an experience where he believed he heard doctors saying, "We're losing him." And his then-wife, Lonnie Anderson, was reportedly brought in to say goodbye. Miraculously, he pulled through, but his health and career suffered greatly during this period. His weight loss from the addiction sparked rumors that he had a more serious illness like AIDS, which Burt worked hard to squash. Despite the challenges, Burt eventually overcame his addiction, proving his resilience and determination to move forward. And despite his struggles, Burt Reynolds never stopped working. The comeback that almost was. From 2010 until his death in 2018, he appeared in more than 20 projects, including TV shows like American Dad and Burn Notice. He also lent his voice to Mayor Burt Reynolds in the video game Saints Row. Though many of these projects were lower-profile films, they showcased his commitment to his craft even in his later years. Speaking of which, one of Burt's most prominent roles was in the 2017 film The Last Movie Star. The story followed an aging actor coming to terms with his life and career, which paralleled Burt's own experiences. The role allowed him to reflect on his legacy while delivering a moving performance. And did you know that Burt had one more major project lined up before his untimely death? It was Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He was cast as George Spahn, the man who rented his ranch to Charles Manson's cult. But sadly, Burt passed away before he could film his scenes, leaving fans to wonder what could have been. His passion for acting remained evident until the very end, as he continued to take on roles that resonated deeply with audiences. Before we talk about his death and legacy, let's revisit the moment that made headlines. The moment with Johnny Carson. Burt Reynolds and Johnny Carson's legendary late-night bond. When it comes to late-night television, Burt Reynolds didn't just appear as a guest, he left a legacy. One of the most surprising revelations came from Burt himself, who admitted he was in love with Johnny Carson. This wasn't romantic, of course, but rather a deep admiration for the genius Carson displayed as a host. Burt confessed to Conan O'Brien years later, "I don't know why, but we had this connection. It just worked." He wasn't shy about admitting that their chemistry on The Tonight Show was something special, even joking that he slept there that first night in the hope of staying close to Carson. Their bond didn't go unnoticed by others. According to Burt, Ed McMahon, Carson's loyal sidekick, wasn't exactly thrilled about their friendship. Burt quipped, "It didn't make Ed happy, Ed was jealous." But Carson clearly enjoyed Burt's company. After his very first appearance, Carson invited him back the next night, and again, and again. Their dynamic was so effortless that Reynolds became one of the most frequent and beloved guests in the show's history. Burt Reynolds was no stranger to creating unforgettable moments, and his time on The Tonight Show proved it. The unforgettable moment at The Tonight Show. In one of his boldest stunts, Burt shaved off his signature mustache during a live broadcast in 1978. The moment was sparked by comedian Steve Martin, who dared Burt, saying, "You're not a wild and crazy guy, are you?" Without hesitation, Burt grabbed a razor handed to him by a prop man and began shaving the mustache he'd worn since 1973. The audience erupted in laughter as Burt added to the hilarity by donning a fake arrow through his head, showcasing his quick wit and fearless humor. But Burt wasn't just about stunts. He understood how to navigate Carson's unspoken rules, which made their interactions even more entertaining. Carson didn't like being touched too much or having his pencil taken, and he definitely didn't enjoy having his hair messed up. Despite knowing these boundaries, Burt loved to push the envelope. During one memorable episode, Burt brought out a can of whipped cream and sprayed it on Carson. Not one to back down, Carson grabbed the can and returned the favor. The situation escalated hilariously as the whipped cream ended up not just on their faces but also down their pants. Burt later praised Carson's ability to turn even chaotic moments into comedy gold, saying, "That's a genius." A farewell full of laughter and memories. By the time Johnny Carson retired in 1992, Burt Reynolds had made 61 appearances on The Tonight Show. Their relationship had become a staple of late-night television, with fans eagerly anticipating what unpredictable antics they'd pull off next. Burt's farewell visit to Carson was no exception. As the two reminisced about their years together, Burt couldn't resist revisiting their whipped cream tradition. He asked, "Does anyone have any whipped cream?" Sure enough, a mysterious hand passed him a can. This time, Burt sprayed the cream down his own pants, then down McMahon's, and finally in Carson's direction. It was a playful nod to their earlier moments, and a fitting way to say goodbye to an era of television that Burt had helped make iconic. For Burt, these appearances weren't just about promoting his movies or cracking jokes. They were about celebrating the brilliance of Johnny Carson. Burt admired Carson's quick thinking and ability to connect with guests, calling him a genius who made every moment feel special. Even as the years passed, Burt held on to the memories of his time with Carson. He often spoke of their unique bond with fondness, describing it as one of the highlights of his career. Their friendship wasn't just a series of on-screen antics. It was a genuine connection built on mutual respect, humor, and a shared love of entertaining audiences. Burt Reynolds and Johnny Carson weren't just two legends sharing a stage. They were partners in creating some of the most unforgettable moments in late-night history. For Burt, Carson wasn't just a host. He was a kindred spirit, someone who understood the power of humor and connection. And for audiences, their moments together remain timeless. The death of a legend. Burt Reynolds passed away on September 6, 2018, at the age of 82, from heart failure. He spent his final moments at the Jupiter Medical Center in Florida, where his legacy had long been celebrated. His ex-wife, Lonnie Anderson, and their son, Quentin, organized a private memorial service in North Palm Beach. The guest list included Sally Field, Reynolds' lifelong friend Lee Corso, FSU coach Bobby Bowden, and quarterback Doug Flutie. Even in death, Reynolds' life continued to stir emotions, reflecting the complexity of the man behind the fame. Reynolds' death inspired tributes from all corners. In September 2018, the Florida State football team honored him by adding decals to their helmets reading Ban 1, styled like the license plate from his iconic Smokey and the Bandit car. The tribute wasn't just about celebrating his career, it was also a nod to Burt's deep ties to Florida, where he had once been a football star at Florida State University. In February 2021, Burt's ashes were interred at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, marked by a bronze bust unveiled later that year. His niece, Nancy Lee Brown Hess, who had been entrusted with his estate, produced a documentary titled I Am Burt Reynolds in 2020, celebrating his life and legacy. Even Antenna TV paid tribute by airing a classic 1982 episode of The Tonight Show featuring Burt in a "This Is Your Lifestyle" skit with Johnny Carson. These tributes highlighted the many ways Reynolds touched lives, on screen and off, and solidified his place as an entertainment icon. Burt Reynolds' family dynamics remained complicated even after his death. Shocking family drama after his passing. The service wasn't without controversy. Burt's only brother, James "Jimmy Hooks" Reynolds, was notably absent. Speaking of which, his relationship with his brother Jimmy had been rocky for years, with Burt mentioning in his memoir that Jimmy's wife Maria had created a rift between them. But Jimmy's wife Maria revealed that Anderson didn't invite him, allegedly due to unresolved tensions. Anderson blamed Jimmy for not protecting her during her troubled marriage to Burt, while Burt himself had described his relationship with his brother as strained, partly due to Maria's influence. Maria later said that regardless of past conflicts, Jimmy should have been there to say goodbye to his brother. Despite their estrangement, Jimmy reportedly mourned Burt deeply and felt heartbroken that he wasn't included in the private memorial. Tragically, just 6 months after Burt's death, Jimmy suffered a fatal heart attack, eerily mirroring his brother's cause of death. Questions also arose about Burt's will, as court documents revealed that he had left his entire estate to his niece, Nancy Lee Brown Hess. This decision sparked rumors of a falling out with his adopted son Quentin. However, the truth was far less dramatic. Burt had provided for Quentin through a trust setup during his lifetime. In his will, he wrote, "I intentionally omit him from this, as I have provided for him during my lifetime." Burt had always spoken lovingly about Quentin, calling him "my greatest achievement." He praised Quentin's independence and his success as a camera assistant in Hollywood, saying, "He never asked for help with his career. He did it all himself, and I'm so proud of him." Even in the face of rumors and family tensions, Burt's love for his son and the legacy he left behind remained undeniable. A financial legacy of peaks and valleys. Despite earning millions over his career, Burt's financial troubles followed him until the end. By the time of his death, his net worth was estimated at just $5 million, which was a shocking contrast to the fortune he once commanded. Much of his financial downfall stemmed from his divorce from Lonnie Anderson, which cost him millions in alimony and legal fees. The frenzy surrounding their split also led to the loss of $3 million in endorsement deals, further deepening his financial woes. In 1996, Burt filed for bankruptcy, revealing $10 million in debt. Reflecting on the choices that led him there, Burt candidly admitted to Vanity Fair, "Women cost me the most money." It was a brutally honest statement that highlighted his tendency to live for the moment rather than plan for the future. In an effort to recover financially, Burt auctioned off personal items, including his Smokey and the Bandit jacket, his Emmy for Evening Shade, and even the Golden Globe he won for Boogie Nights. While these sales helped ease his financial burden, they also symbolized the sacrifices he made to stay afloat. Despite his financial missteps and personal struggles, Burt Reynolds' legacy as one of Hollywood's most charismatic stars remains untarnished. His charm, humor, and undeniable talent continue to captivate audiences, proving that his true wealth lay in the joy he brought to so many. What do you think about Burt Reynolds' legacy and his larger-than-life personality? Do you believe his charm and bold choices defined his lasting impact on Hollywood? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more fascinating stories.